Namaste, Suswagatam, and welcome to our Sunday edition of Gyan Ganga, Words of Wisdom on our Virat Hindustan Sangam social media channels of Periscope, Twitter Periscope, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. As you know, we have a weekly two programs, one on Saturday at 8 p.m., which is dedicated to the legal knowledge we impart, and Sunday we have our regular Gyan Ganga, which we started in March. And for first few months, we had a daily program, and then we switched to weekly Sunday program. And today is the 93rd episode of Sunday's Gyan Ganga. So we thank our viewers for your support, and we also would like to tell you that you can view our program in your offline on the YouTube channel of Virat Hindustan Sangam. Today we have Dr. Subramanian Swamy discuss a very important subject, that is the situation on our borders. And I have with me my co-host Ramesh Swamy and Professor Arvind Chaturvedi from New Delhi. I wish to thank our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, our friend from Mumbai, Mr. Vishal Mehta, Ishwar Iyer from Navi Mumbai, Tejas from Pune, Swaminathan from Chennai, and Mr. Rakesh Gadgi from Karnataka for their support to put this program together. As you know, today we will be discussing the situation on our borders, and in special relations to China. I just want to bring it to your notice that there's a lot of confusion on exactly what we are talking about on China. One, up to 1962, China had occupied a large portion of our land. Then after a lot of negotiation, perhaps Dr. Swamy will give us more insight, around 1993, there was a line of actual control drawn. So there was a 1962 border, then an LAC of 1993, and there is a situation as evolved in the last few months or years, and as it is prevailing now. So these are the three situations as far as the border is concerned, because this needs to be made quite clear. We are not, when we are talking lately with China, we are not referring to the 1962 border, but what is happening, and I'm subject to correction from Dr. Swamy, what's happening beyond inside the LAC as far as India is concerned, that is the 1993 line of actual control. So in this background, today perhaps Dr. Swamy will tell us exclusive details of what's happening on our borders. So with this, it is over to Dr. Swamy. And I just want to tell our viewers that somewhere in the month of March, we will be starting the Arth Gyan Ganga economic words of wisdom also. So viewers can be sure on a Saturday after the legal Gyan Ganga is over, we'll be starting the Arth Gyan Ganga, economic words of wisdom. That's for the benefit of our viewers. So it's over to Dr. Swamy for this very interesting topic of the situation on our borders. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jagdish. May I request our colleague Ramesh to put out some maps which he has put together, and I think he's got like five or six slides. So I just like to first say, now this is the map of what I will sometimes call the political map. It's not a geographical map, and you see that Kashmir, which is on the left, there is a line which goes up and then turns right. That's called the line of control. That's the originally was called the ceasefire line, and therefore that portion beyond that is what is called as POK. Although it's just written Pakistan there, but it's actually not Pakistan proper, but POK, Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. So that's a big portion, and I'll get you another map to show why that is so crucial that we should get it back. Then the other part of Kashmir is Aksai Chin. And this because we wanted to have a settlement. So a temporary arrangement was made, which was called the line of actual control. And in that, the whole of Aksai Chin was taken over by China. So what we have is the other part, which is called Ladakh. So I'll give a little more after going through this map. We'll go to a more detailed map later. But then you come down and you see something written here, Shipki, La means pass. Then there is a Lipu Lake, I think a little below the red line. Lipu Lake. This I crossed when I went to Kailash. Kailash is somewhere out there where those three lines or four lines come together. Around that place is the Kailash. So Lipu Lake is part of India, but now the Nepalis are claiming it. So we have now another junior partner of China making a claim on us. Then you have, of course, Nepal, and then you will have Sikkim, and then there's a V-shaped territory. You can see the V-shaped territory, and then you have Bhutan, and below that is India, which is a thin strip and very often referred to as a chicken neck. Just see between Bangladesh and Nepal and Sikkim, which is part of India, there's such a thin thing. So what the Chinese are trying to do, if Ramesh can draw the line, is build a road between that crevice, that V-shaped thing, come down it and connect with Bangladesh. And so this whole area on this side, which means the whole of Northeast, including Assam, would be cut off in event of a war. So this red line shows the road which China is building. They have already come this far. Bhutan originally didn't agree, so we sent out troops. We fought, I think, in 2018, and our troops did very well, and therefore the Chinese backed off. But soon after, something happened in Bhutan. I don't know what, and our people have never told the public about why this happened. Our foreign ministry believes in utter secrecy, I think. The Bhutanese changed their mind and said to the Chinese, okay, you can build the road. So that road has now been built, and it has come right up to the Nathula. Where is written Nathula? That is on one side is Sikkim, and the other side is Bhutan. It has come up to cutting through the Sikkim border on one side and Bhutan border on the side, and the Chinese have come right where the red line ends. So they just need another maybe 2 months to connect with Bangladesh. But at the moment, Bangladesh is still not a junior partner of China. So therefore, they have kept it at that. But this is a potential danger in a future war, that they may cut off the whole of Northeast and create utter chaos. So this is the second hotspot. First hotspot I told you about Aksai Chin. Then there's Ladakh. I'll get into more details about Ladakh, where all they have been, and how they have violated a mutually agreed line of actual control, which is not the control, which is not the border which we are going to finally agree. But it is, for the time being, a way of maintaining peace. And the Chinese have crossed that and now have taken over many parts, which I'll come to in the next map. But one last thing before we go to the other map is this whole area is the Brahmaputra River, I think you can see, and Arunachal is here. And so far, no part of Arunachal was occupied since 1962, because the Chinese came down the Arunachal, past Tawang. They took over Tawang and crossed and came in near Tezpur, and then they withdrew. And I'll tell you why they withdrew. and they will again, unless we become panicky, they will find it very hard to come down to the Assam hills, because of the fact that they got a very long supply line, and therefore if they come across the mountain and into the plains of India, we'll bash them up completely. So therefore they will only do it if we get major failure in some other area. Then they will take psychological advantage and try and take over Arunachal. But at the moment, Arunachal is a. But in another map, I'll show you in this eastern corner and a bit of the northern corner, they have started making entrances. I think we have, yes, there is a marking here, and they have built a colony. I mean, it's a colony which where these troops are staying with their family, and they are establishing that no, this is part of China. So they are here. None of this has been told to us by the government, by the way. I don't know why. They should tell that. Now here, this map is more clear. The Chinese have come through here. This is Arunachal, and they have come through here. They have come through here. They built a colony here, and so they are laying the foundation to annex Arunachal as part of China. Now, what's the legal position? I'll come to later. But right now, all these red things. This is Aksai Chin taken over. They have crossed that line, and this part is Siachen. And this during the time of Rajiv Gandhi, he sent the troops and captured it. And it's very hard to maintain it, but we have done a fantastic job, our soldiers. And therefore, Siachen Glacier, it's clearly written there. That portion is very crucial, because if we give up Siachen, then all that China or Pakistan will have to do is just come down, just drive down the roads with their military thing and enter Kashmir. So Siachen is very, very important, but it's all freezing, terrible. You know, as a defense committee member, I had occasion to be taken there, and well, you have to be in very good health to go and come back. But at that time, I was much younger also. So anyway, I came. Now, another thing is Karakoram Pass. This is the pass that the Chinese have built to enable them to go easily to Pakistan. And this Karakoram Pass, below it is where Depsang is. So in our map, we will show it just now. Let's just let me tell you, Pakistan occupied Kashmir is a huge part, plus a portion here. Srinagar is just somewhere here near this place. All this area in 1971 we captured, but Mrs. Gandhi returned it. I don't know what Bhutan, leave around Bhutan, but Bhutan is something in the blood of the Nehrus, I think. So this portion is something that we'll have to take in case we have to go to war to recover POK. So you see the Chinese presence. This is Ladakh. Leh is out here, the capital. And there's the areas, this Pangong Lake, which is supposed to have been across the LAC for the Chinese, but now they have taken those parts like Galwan Valley and so on. Then in Depsang, they have built a few factory cantonment, all that, and they're all very well settled. So we'll have to do a lot of fighting. Our chaps have shown extraordinary strength when they climbed up the mountains of Galwan and pushed the Chinese out from it. But unfortunately, then we entered into this so-called, disengagement. I don't know where this word came. It's a cancerous word for India. And we gave up that, and they have now, Chinese have regained their place. So at this moment, the Chinese are preparing for a major war, and I would say cut off the northeast, take over, Sikkim, all kinds of plans they have got. And I'll come to a question very soon as to why they're doing all this. But we have to, be frank about it. Tell the people that we can't fight China now, but we need 2 years. They're all right, we will wait for 2 years, let them take what they want, and then we'll teach them. And then we'll do a lot of damage to them. But to say, just say nothing, koi nahi aaya, koi nahi gaya, this is wrong. And I have to go into this question, why the Prime Minister is not naming China as an aggressor. What is this difficulty? Or even our foreign minister, he hates to use the word China. Well, we will meet aggression. Aggression of whom? You see? So I have told you the difficulty. This whole northern belt, we are in big trouble if we don't decide to fight. And if you don't fight, all our neighbors will know that when it comes to China, we are no match. We are nobody. And that is the goal of Xi Jinping, to say India may be large in size, but it is a pussycat for us. They have already made a pussycat out of Russia. We still don't understand this. Russia, by the way, is not Soviet Union. Soviet Union was an amalgamation of 16 countries. All these 16 countries are broken off. Somebody has become Kazakhstan, somebody has become Ukraine, somebody has become Lithuania, somebody has become Latvia, all that, you see. So today all is left is a rump called Russia. And this Russia is so short of money that they have totally mortgaged themselves to China. So don't think that the Russians will come to your side. But whether the Americans come or not, that I will, towards the end, I will say some word, because there are lots of ifs and buts even with the Americans. So I would say today that we have a problem. Now you come to Arunachal. In Arunachal, what is the boundary line? The Chinese had in 1962 gone across the McMahon line. Now McMahon line is not a legitimate line. It was never adopted by the British Indian government. There was a conference in 1911 or 1912, but the conference, when they concluded, the British government in London, they disowned it. They said, no, this is not acceptable. And then the Chinese government, which was also a party, that time Kuomintang, China, they also said, no, nothing doing. We will not accept this. And the government of Tibet, which was one of the rare occasions when Tibet was an independent country, most of 99% of the time, the history, 99% of the since Tibet came into formation till today, Tibet has been a suzerainty. The Chinese had a suzerainty control over Tibet, and it was not in that sense a fully independent country. But a few occasions it became independent, and one of them was from 1905 to 1930. So that period they were independent country. But the Dalai Lama has always been, right from number one Dalai Lama, of course 1 and 2 was that Dalai Lama title was given posthumously, but from 1 and 2 included, but from 3 inactively, nobody could be appointed as Dalai Lama unless the Chinese government in Beijing sanctioned it by giving a ring which will be put on this hand of the new Dalai Lama. So now the problem is that the Dalai Lama is living in India. Can the Tibetans break it? They can. They can say, to hell with our past. We don't care. In the past, the Chinese recognized this. Now we will only do it ourselves, whoever the Tibetans want. But to say that the Chinese, have no right on it and all this is all wrong. That's, let's be clear on facts. But what is true is that the Chinese have let down the Tibetans. They had made a deal in 1951. They've broken it. In Cultural Revolution, they ruined it. And therefore, if the Tibetans say, we don't want to be part of China under any obligation to China, well, that they can. But then who's going to come to their defense? I think the problem is we have not yet reached a stage where our military can cross into Tibet and liberate and protect Tibet. There's a longer story. So let us look at our own story first. Let us show to the world that when it comes to our territory, nobody is a match for us. We'll thrash them. So can we thrash them? Of course we can thrash them. Have we shown any example of that? Yes, in 1967, that portion I showed you about Sikkim and Bhutan, that particular area, there is a Nathula Pass, and the Chinese came, and our brave soldiers took even tanks on mountains, and they in the mountains and thrashed the Chinese. And so, of course, we didn't publicize it because we didn't want to upset the Chinese and so on. But those of us who studied defense, I was a member of the Defense Consultative Committee of Parliament. So all these facts, of course, were shown to me. This is 67. 1987, in Arunachal, there is, near Tawang, there's a place called Sumdurong Valley. And there, the Chinese came and our troops went and gave them such a thrashing that they all ran away. All the prisoners we arrested, we handed them all back. And then at that time, Rajiv Gandhi was Prime Minister. I asked him, why didn't you publicize it? He said, no, all my officers are saying if you publicize it, then, then there'll be, the war will continue, and so on and so forth. So we didn't publicize it. It's time now for us to publicize it. We are still not publicizing it. The defeat we gave to the Chinese soldiers in Galwan Valley, who knows about it? Have we even, those 20 people who died bravely, climbing up a hill, and the Chinese used to throw boulders on their heads. Many people had cracked skulls and died. Have we celebrated? In Pulwama, what celebration we did? Ministers and MPs carried the body to the house of the families, and had a huge ceremony. But in this particular case of Galwan, we have only had some TV showing bodies have arrived with the Indian flag on it. It's a very sad situation that we seem to be somehow shy of our own soldiers' bravery. So now, therefore, let me say, today China has. It's no use saying that China had also encroached during the UPA period. Of course they did. But then we have now been in power for 6 years. And Modi has met Xi Jinping on a one-to-one basis 18 times. He has been to China as Prime Minister 5 times, as Chief Minister 4 times. Nobody has been so many times amongst the people who have held the position of Prime Minister. Nehru only went once, Indira Gandhi went once, Lal Bahadur Shastri 0, and then Morarji Desai 0, Indira Gujral who came and Devagowda 0, then came Rajiv Gandhi once, but it's such a large number of times Modi went, had one-to-one meeting, 18 meetings, and then what happened? And there is some big story in that which I think we need to get to the bottom of it, because the country needs to know this is a matter for the country. It's not a question of personal relations between two leaders. In 2014 September, Xi Jinping came to Ahmedabad. And on the Jula, they went and they had a lot of bonhomie. And as he was, they were doing the Jula, information came to us that the Chinese troops in southern Ladakh, 1,000 Chinese troops had entered southern Ladakh and took over their property. So Mr. Modi was informed about it. And then when Xi Jinping and Modi went to Delhi from Ahmedabad, he told him very bluntly, this won't do. This is wrong. And, you'll have to rectify it. As soon as Xi Jinping went to Beijing, he ordered those troops to come back. And then, of course, all our intellectuals said, Xi Jinping is a very nice man. This PLA is out of control. Nobody can control PLA, and all these, these yarns, these, stories were being said. But the fact is, at that time, Xi Jinping didn't have a measure of Modi. And therefore, he felt that having come with an absolute majority, there may be a very sharp retaliation. Then what happened was slowly more and more meetings took place. And somewhere along the line, Narendra Modi decided that befriending China is a very important thing. Of course, I also think befriending China is most important, but it makes two to have friendship. So therefore, what happened, is something that I need to, need to do further research. But I would say that he slowly we began finding that the Chinese are getting very rude. And in fact, in 2015 itself, when Modi went to that Siachen, where there are a lot of these old emperors' statues buried under the ground, and these all tourists go there. He went there, then he went to Beijing, and he asked me in that one-to-one meeting, Xi Jinping, that what were you going to do about the border? When are you going to settle it? And Xi Jinping just turned his face and went away. Others noticed it, and those who were in the delegation told me about it. And then their prime minister had a meeting with our prime minister in Beijing, and he gave a big lecture. These are leftover from history. Why should we waste our time? We have to make political decisions. And let us set this aside. All this. So that was done during Narasimha Rao's period, but ultimately we got nowhere with it. And even the line of actual control is not being respected by the Chinese. So from then on, there was a little coldness developing, and the reason was when Obama came here, both Modi and Obama, issued a statement saying that we cannot allow any other party to dominate the Indo-Pacific, or what is later by Trump. When Trump came, he changed from Asian Pacific to Indo-Pacific. They cannot allow anybody else to come. India and the United States have a priority relationship in maintaining peace in the Asian Pacific area. That enraged the Chinese, and they decided that now they will do something against India. It is at that time the Prime Minister asked me to go to China and become president of a new bank which was set up by China, Russia, India, Brazil, and South Africa, called BRICS Bank. And that BRICS Bank, first chairman, they were ready to give it to an Indian. Modi, in fact, told them my name also. And therefore, it was Mr. Amit Shah called me to tell me that, this is something which the Prime Minister wants, you must accept it and go and become the president. Of course, it was a very fat salary. It's almost obscenely high salary, and all kinds of facilities. But I told him that I can't go because I've left Harvard to come to India and I want to stay in India. So he tried to persuade me. Then I told him, I have a feeling from my knowledge of China that the thing is that they are going to go to war in 3-4 years with us. They don't like us anymore. I don't know what has happened. So Amit Shah said, no, you see, Modi has become so popular all over the world, so the Chinese have become jealous. I just laughed and left it at that. But since then, they have progressed. But surprisingly, in that meeting in Singapore, where Xi Jinping and Modi came for a conference called Shangri-La Conference, there both of them made a statement saying that we will not allow big power rivalry to take place in the Indo-Pacific area. And that was a clear, straight message to the Americans that we don't want you around here, and that the Indians and the Chinese have got together. So that is where the Chinese Americans today will make all kinds of lovely noises, how India is a great democracy and all. But how far they will help you, I can't say. I have seen all the statements after Galwan and after Depsang and after Pangong saw that lake incidents. You see, Depsang is right up where Karakoram passes. So it's such a crucial area. The Chinese have taken it over. It was ours, and they've taken it over. They built a cantonment and almost a city and so on. And one of the reasons they got a little agitated is Mr. Gadkari. He is a very enthusiastic man. he supervised a whole lot of highways, 4-lane, 5-lane highways where trucks can go up and down, where only people could go walking in the past. And so the Chinese felt that India is preparing for a war. So that's how the attack took place. But in fact, we were not ready to go. We suddenly began to talk about, disengagement and so on. And then the Russians got into the act. The Russians, by the way, are junior partners of China. They have taken so much money from China for their bank to get rid of their bank loans and so on. And now they are totally doing what the Chinese want them to do. So they don't connect them with Soviet Union. Soviet Union is all gone. It's all collapsed. Now there's only Russia, and the Russians are totally dependent on the Chinese. You should take them as one. And they have themselves said it, but it has not come in our media. Our media only publishes what the government gives them. So therefore, these are not being given. This real status of the relationship between the Russians and the Chinese, they will never side with us against China. They never did in the past. Also, my latest book on Himalayan Challenge, I've given a transcript of the discussion between Khrushchev and Mao Zedong, and it becomes very clear. So this thing is called the Pangong Lake, and you can see that these areas are all where the Chinese are fortifying themselves. So now the question is, what should we do? And after that, I can put it over for questions to the panel, to my colleagues here, and any other questions that we receive. We have now an existential problem. Are we a nation of 1.3 billion people or not? And if we are we a large country? Are we a country who's got a lot of neighbors who are deciding whether to go with China or go with India? And if we are shown, as Xi Jinping wants to, that we are nothing in before China. China has managed, pacified, and put under nakhel, as they put in the horse, for the Russians. And now they will make India into a pussycat. And therefore, all countries will now have to submit to China. That is the grand vision of Xi Jinping. So what we have to do is we have no more to talk, no talking. Prepare. If you are not already prepared, take time to prepare. If you want money from the public, like in 1962, people will even take their gold jewelry and give it for defense. But don't expect the world is going to come to your help. It's not going to be so easy. And especially now with Biden in, he will give a lot of good speeches. But I'm not sure that even in Trump's time, their statement shows they have been hurt by our the joint statement of Xi Jinping and Modi in 2018, saying that we won't allow any big power rivalry in this area, and India and China will work cooperatively for that, which means, of course, singling out the Americans as unwelcome. So you prepare. Can we do it? Of course. This is our area of our strength. Why? Because Chinese have got a long supply line. So in a conventional war, they are not going to do a nuclear war for this. And the nuclear war, there are no winners. All are losers. So they are going to have to defend the positions they have taken. And they can't take it. You ask our soldiers. I have a lot of contact with the military because for years and years I was on the defense committee and I had interaction, and they'll all like my views, that's hardline views. So I would say that our military is ready to fight. Give them what they want. There's nothing to be afraid of. Defeat the Chinese only. Don't talk about all other things. Tibet, or you'll liberate Tibet. First liberate your own territory before talking about liberating Tibet. Then Taiwan. I mean, so what is it that the Americans are not liberating Taiwan? Why we should be talking about liberating Taiwan or Hong Kong or something else? Just our territory has been taken over by them. As far as is concerned, the McMahon line is a bogus line, but the Chinese have accepted it as an international line for Burma and signed an agreement that McMahon line shall be the international boundary between Burma and Tibet. And therefore, they have to agree to us also. Furthermore, the fact of the matter is that we have already demonstrated our ability to defend Arunachal whenever necessary. So they may come in form when we are all looking the other way. They may come in form a colony in East Arunachal, but we can finish that. We have got a huge Air Force base in Tezpur, and all supply routes of China can be bombed, and there will be nothing left for China to do. So China coming all the way, the troops of the Chinese are also, according to our reports, their morale is low. They say, what are we doing all so far away in coming through a hostile territory, which still Tibet is. So we are in a very strong position, and we have demonstrated in Galwan, and we will demonstrate anywhere else is necessary. In Galwan, our chaps were forbidden to use weapons because of an agreement. This Ministry of External Affairs, a bunch of pussycats or important people, you see. They said, no, this is an agreement. It can't be violated. And so our people went with bare hands. And as they climbed up the mountain to reach the top, the Chinese soldiers from there were throwing boulders on them. Yet our 20 soldiers died, but by their own internal admission, which is considered an underestimate, is 43 people died. 43 Chinese soldiers died, and we took over Galwan. So therefore, I'm saying that we have demonstrated, our soldiers have demonstrated over and over. They demonstrated in 67, they demonstrated in 87, in 1971, the Chinese didn't enter at all because they knew our soldiers were all fired up. So they only wanted some of our goats and sheep to be, their goats and sheep which had strayed into India to be returned. Of course, we would be happy to return that. But we have to defeat the Chinese once in the battlefield, because it's like what? Like Mahabharata. What did Krishna say to Duryodhan? Give 5 villages, no war. And Duryodhan said, nothing doing, not even the area on the tip of a pin. And then war had to be declared. Today we are in the same situation. Our country's existence is dependent, our country's position in the world is dependent on demonstrating that Indian army can defeat the Chinese army. 62 was a collapse of Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru, but it is no more going to be that collapse. And I would urge Mr. Prime Minister, come out in the open and frankly state that what your intentions are, and and why have you been silent on this so far? It's a talk of the country today in hushed tones. Why is he not blaming the Chinese? Why is he not singling out and saying the Chinese have attacked us and we will give them a mutor jawab? So these are things where the morale has to be built up. But I think today we have no alternative but to get back our territory in Ladakh. We may not cross, we'll give them Chinese a warning. We'll cross the LAC and take over Aksai Chin also. But if you are willing to yourself withdraw beyond the LAC that you crossed and came, then we are ready to sit down and talk with you and continue our discussion on the border. And therefore, I would like to see that the Chinese understand that we Indians have an equal strength. We can defeat them if it's necessary. And then, India and China can be better friends. By then, if the Chinese lose this war, Xi Jinping's chutti will take place immediately. We'll get another leader. Just like Deng Xiaoping came after Mao Zedong, we had such good relations that I could go to China and get Kailash Mansarovar opened. So therefore, don't think don't lump the Chinese as one homogeneous lot. There is a lot of differences in leadership also, and therefore we can augment a better leadership in China by going to war with China and defeating them. This is what I have to say now.
So, Dr. Swamy, I think there was one question on that Arunachal border. We can wait for you to have a drink of water, Dr. Swamy.
No. I got a bit excited.
Okay, so I just want to show one slide that has been used pretty extensively. I will wait for you, Dr. Swamy.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead. I can hear you. Yeah, I'm going to take a logic. Yeah.
So I want to share this slide. This is where, there was one question from one of the viewers about the Arunachal, the way they built a new village. So they wanted to get some information based on what you are aware of. So that what is, they built a brand new village.
These are all houses. All these things are houses.
And the Tapir Gao, who was the BJP MP, had raised it even last year, correct? The same issue, right?
Yeah. He's been raising it and we have been ignoring it. You see, that's true. No, they have entered through they have not entered into the central part of Arunachal. They have started it. You see, earlier on, what happened? 100% of Arunachal was liberated. The Chinese also felt that they can't sustain it. They may have defeated the Indian soldiers who were in disarray, but they have to go. So they themselves cleared beyond the McMahon line, and have offered also that we're willing to settle with on McMahon line for Arunachal, like we have done with the Burmese. But you must agree that Aksai Chain is ours. Now that we can't do because there's a parliament resolution saying that you can't do it. So or they can help us saying, all right, you take POK and we will look the other way. And that kind of deal we can do.
Jagdish?
Arvind, you can start with your question.
Arvind, you're muted. If you can ask in Hindi, it will be better. So for Hindi,
Dr. Swamy, आपने एक बहुत ही संयम तरीके से हमारे देश के समक्ष जो चुनौतियां हैं वो आपने रखी हैं. हम चीन का मुकाबला किस तरह कर सकते हैं? चीन की जो फाइनेंशियल प्रोग्रेस है, फाइनेंशियल ताकत है, चीन हमारे विरोधियों को फाइनेंशियली सपोर्ट कर रहा है, चाहे वो पाकिस्तान हो, नेपाल हो, भूटान हो, श्रीलंका हो या मालदीव्स हो. और जब तक हम अपने जो नेबर्स हैं इनको उतना ही हम फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट न कर पाए जितना चीन कर रहा है, तो चीन का मुकाबला हम कैसे करेंगे? ये हमारे जो दोस्त हैं, करीबी दोस्त हैं, वो कहीं ना कहीं चीन के झांसे में आ रहे हैं.
ये बताइए कि हम क्यों नहीं करते? ये आपने कभी सोचा? मैं तो जानता हूं कि श्रीलंका के साथ क्या नहीं अन्याय हुआ हमारे बाबू लोगों ने किया. हमारे लोग तो सब यूरोप देखते हैं ना. राजनीतिज्ञ भी कहीं टूर में जाना है तो लंदन और न्यूयॉर्क इसी का सोचते हैं. ये छोटी छोटी देशों के लिए साथ आप अच्छे संबंध रखनी चाहिए. नेपाल का भी हो सकता है वो कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी के लोग आ गए वहां तो ये सब गड़बड़ कर रहे हैं, परंतु वहां की जनता में एक फीलिंग है ये हिंदुस्तानी समझते हैं हम हमारे मालिक हैं, ये हम उनके नौकर हैं. ये सही है नहीं है वो तो अलग बात है, बट ये परसेप्शन है ये. तो इसीलिए मैं कहता हूं कि अब श्रीलंका को हम रास्ते पर लाए कि नहीं. क्या किया मैंने राजपक्षा जब पावर में नहीं थी, मैंने कहा कि अब आइए यहाँ हम लोगों को भाषण दीजिए और अपनी दृष्टिकोण बताइए. ये तो इनको तो अछूत बना दिया था ये राजनीतिक दृष्टि से हमारे बाबू लोगों ने. तो इनकी बात सुनते हैं क्योंकि कई हमारे राजनेता हैं, उनको तो ये सारी जो विदेश नीति और इसकी जो सोफिस्टिकेशन है वो समझते नहीं है, तो बाबू के ओपिनियन में ही चलते हैं. तो मैं कहता हूं कि आज श्रीलंका तुम्हारे साथ खड़ी है और वो ये कहते हैं कि जो कर्जा आपने हम लोगों को दिया पिछले 20 साल में, उसका थोड़ा पेमेंट का डिले करिए. अभी तक नहीं किया. मुझे गारंटी दिया था सरकार की तरफ से कि हाँ हम कर देंगे और आप राजपक्षा को बता भी सकते हैं. मैंने बताया उनको, और अभी तक नहीं किया. अब आप कहते हैं मोहन टोटा दे दिया चाइना को. पहले तो हमसे कहा था, मनमोहन सिंह से कहा था कि हम ये बनाना चाहते हैं, आप हमें कर्जा दीजिए और हम ये बंदरगाह बना देंगे, आपके टेक्निकल एक्सपर्ट भी भेज दीजिए, उनको हम वेतन और तनख्वाह भी दे देंगे। तो हमारे मनमोहन सिंह की सरकार ने कहा नहीं नहीं नहीं, वो तमिल लोग बिगड़ जाएंगे। कौन तमिल लोग? या हिंदुस्तानी तमिल लोग हैं, ये तो सब विदेशी तमिल लोग हैं। तो विदेशी तमिल लोगों की बात पर हम हमारी राष्ट्रीय हित को हम यानी नष्ट करेंगे? तो हमने किया था। तो उन्होंने फिर चाइना ने आकर कहा हिंदुस्तान से क्यों मांग रहे हो, हम तो आपको दान दे देंगे, लेकिन इस बंदरगाह में हमें थोड़ा चलाने वाला ने हमारी इस यानी एक स्वामित्व के लिए कुछ व्यवस्था कर दो। तो उन्होंने मान लिया क्योंकि और क्या कर सकते थे। अब वो कहते चाइना को दे दिया, चाइना को दे दिया, चाइना को दे दिया। या कौन?
जिस तरह आप कहा कि पाकिस्तान 1 साल के अंदर चाइना के कब्जे में हो जाएगा, तो वही चीज जो चाइना श्रीलंका में कर चुकी है, वो जो भूटान के साथ कर रही है, वही पाकिस्तान के साथ भी कर रही है। उनको एक पहले प्रोजेक्ट वहां जाके बनाते हैं, उस प्रोजेक्ट को फाइनेंस करते हैं और धीरे धीरे उनके ऊपर कर्जा हो जाता है, फिर वो धीरे धीरे उनके राजनीतिक रूप से कब्जे में आ जाते हैं।
अब पाकिस्तान के बारे चाइना को उतना भरोसा नहीं है। मैं बताता हूँ, हमारे से जब भी बात हुई थी पहले, जब हमारी मित्रता थी, तो उसमें तो यही बात निकली, क्योंकि वहाँ एक देश नहीं है, उसमें 4 देश है, बलूची, पख्तूनी, सिंध और वेस्ट पंजाब। तो इसीलिए चाइना कब्जा में तो रखेगी पाकिस्तान को, लेकिन उसको कोई यानी एक सहयोगी के नाते उनको कोई भाव नहीं देंगे। हमारी चाइना के युद्ध होगी तो पाकिस्तान कुछ नहीं करेगी, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान अटैक करेगी तो हमारे देश में भावना भड़क जाएगी। अभी चाइना के बारे में भावना है, परंतु वो 1962 का भी हमारी खोपड़ी में घूम रही है। पर पाकिस्तान है तो यहाँ सब लोगों में जोश आ जाएगी, तो इसलिए पाकिस्तान को आने नहीं देंगे हमारी लड़ाई में। और कौन सी कोई है?
अब एक बात और मैं कहना चाहता हूँ बिफोर रमेश एंड जगदीश टेक ओवर। When in the Cold War period, when in the bipolar world, we had decided on a new movement called non-aligned movement. And now since Russia is, I mean, USSR is no more there, Russia is not so powerful. Now, what should be done towards maintaining our borders and also have the global policy as such as non-aligned movement?
Why you bother? You first clean up your backyard. Then people will have respect. They'll come to you. And look at the small nation called Israel. Now Arab nations are all saying, please have diplomatic relations with us.
Yeah.
What is it due to? It is that self-confidence, you see, and their ability to overcome any shortcoming. They didn't have any water. Yeah. So they desalination of sea plants. I mean, desalination of seawater plant. So there's nothing. If you can show that you can stand on your feet, countries will come to you. People want to invest in this country. It's a large country. It's a huge population. All our bureaucrats will go have cocktail parties and come back and give stories about how wonderful everything is going on. I say you have the capacity to defeat the Chinese without anybody's help, including the Americans. So do it, because that terrain is in your favor. And the Jawans are all thirsting for an opportunity.
Dr. Swamy, there are 2 questions from one of the viewer. Actually, it is an interesting set of questions. I'll display the first one, and then I'll show both the questions, and you can answer them.
Yeah.
So the first one is basically, obviously, Russia has done its own monkeying they've done backing Assad and all those things. I think, will they also possibility of Russia doing that, joining hands with Pakistan and creating the same nonsense for India? Is the first question. The second one is ability of Russia, because they have all the oil reserves. They can print whatever money they want. Nobody can, even China, for the trash and the money load that they have, and they rig their money as far as possible. So how will that impact India?
Well, you see, Russia is concerned. They are selling S-400 to Pakistan also. They sold it to China. And they delayed giving it to you because they had to give it to China first. China made a late request, and they are complying with that. And the Americans are saying, if you take S-400, then goodbye to you. Like we have done sanctions with Turkey, we're going to put it on you. Now, why do you want this S-400? I just don't understand. And its entire electronics is Chinese. So from the air, the Chinese will disable these S-400s. You see? So I don't know whose bright idea it was, but the Americans are clearly going to bring a sanction. This is my understanding of what I know for America. And let the Russians are not going to do anything the Chinese don't want. And the Chinese, I believe, think that Pakistan is incapable of putting up a fight because of its internal divisions, and they don't want the Indians to get even more worked up, where every Indian becomes a kamikaze, you see, because is ready to die for saving the country. So therefore, they would like to keep that communal angle out completely. They don't want it to become a Hindu-Muslim issue. So I'm not banking on that. If the Pakistanis want, we got an opportunity to take POK. But like in Bangladesh, the Pakistanis, after we finished off East Pakistan, we were in a position to finish off West Pakistan, but Mrs. Gandhi was prevailed by the Russians not to go ahead. And we let Pakistan survive. Otherwise, that was the chance to break Pakistan into four.
Dr. Swamy, I have a question more related to Tibet. Is it not that Tibet was agreed by two leaders to be part of China and all those things? Our viewers would like to know what India has been doing about Tibet in the past.
You see, Tibet had come here when China became communist. And Mao Zedong announced that Tibet is, it didn't say that Tibet is a part of China, but they said that we have a relationship which is called suzerainty, which means except foreign policy and defense, all other matters of Tibet will be dealt with China. That was the meaning of suzerainty. And then they invaded in 1951. We did nothing. We, in fact, the Security Council seat, which the Americans offered to us after kicking out communist China from Taiwan's place. I mean, Taiwan, couldn't anymore claim to be China. So China's seat was vacated, and it was offered to India. And Jawaharlal Nehru said, "No, this is not fair. It belongs to China," because the Russians wanted it, the Soviet Union wanted it. And he complied. And why he complied? Maybe because of Subhash Chandra Bose, I don't know. But the fact is that the American offer is there in black and white. Written letter to Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, who was ambassador to US at that time. And she writes to her brother saying they're offering it. Shall we take it? And he says, don't fall into these games. It is an aim to divide us and China. They want to create an enmity between us and China. You take the Security Council seat and then become friends with China. What is stopping you from taking the... So, I mean, Tibet was sacrificed. Sardar Patel has written a letter which I've reproduced in my book, where he said, please don't give up Tibet, but if you have to give it up, make the border a condition. That you have to agree to this border. Whatever line we draw, you have to agree. Otherwise, we won't agree. But Jawaharlal Nehru, said these are foreign policy matters. They require a great deal of sophistication. It's not a police matter. That is because Sardar Patel was Home Minister. So this is not a police matter. So I'm saying, what is there about Tibet? We are not in a position to liberate Tibet today. First, create the confidence that we can defeat the Chinese army so that Tibetans also feel they can do without the American help. And remember that Tibet is now, Vajpayee permitted the Chinese to divide Tibet into 4 parts, and 3 parts have been merged already into the surrounding states. This is in 2003. And nobody objected. The media were blissfully ignorant of it. And all that you have is a small part of Tibet today, not the whole of Tibet. So let's first be what they say, हमारी पुरुषार्थ को दिखाओ, उसको परिचय कराओ China को. Then you start telling about Tibet, no human rights, you're violating there, you're doing this, you better do it. Slowly you can work on. But I don't think that at this stage we should even bother whether it's Tibet or Taiwan or Hong Kong or whatever. Only India, and that too Indian territory, acknowledged Indian territory, agreed by the Chinese in 1993. They have betrayed their own. They've shown that their words mean nothing, and you have to therefore focus on that. That's what. Arjuna, when Dronacharya asked him, about killing a bird, he said, "What do you see?" He says, "I see the iris of the eye of the bird only and nothing else." Then he said, "Yes, now you are past." The same way today, you only must see China and nothing but China, and get them out of your territory and to show the whole world we can defend ourselves. Because Xi Jinping is telling everybody, China cannot defend whatever we want. We will take from India.
Dr. Swamy, there's a question from one of the viewers here. I think his name is Sahil Gupta. So he said, why can't the government make the Henderson Brook report public?
I must tell you, when Parikar was the defense minister, Parikar and I were very close friends. He was actually a student when I was contesting the Lok Sabha from Northeast Bombay, which included IIT Bombay. And he was my booth agent because RSS had put all those people in my booths, and so I got to know him, and so we were very, very good friends. So one day he asked me for suggestions. I said this Henderson book has become now stale. I mean, putting it under classification is nonsense. So just take the classification off. So then he said, okay, let me study it. He studied it and he said there are 1 or 2 references which I don't want to go public. So I'll ink that and then release it. I said, can I announce it publicly? He said, of course you can announce it publicly. I've made up my mind. I've informed the Prime Minister. But he didn't come out. I found later Mr. Jaitley went to the Prime Minister and said, no, this will upset everything, this, that, and we won't be able to manage the Congress party anymore, and all that. And it is still not been released. All that it says is that Nehru was at fault. Nothing more. That he let down the soldiers. By the way, at that time our fighting in Aksai Chin was superb. The Chinese could not make any progress in that. Because it was all flat land, no. This was all hilly. And you had tennis shoes and you had no sweaters, nothing. But still our people fought. And there were places which the Chinese couldn't take. So therefore, the Henderson book only highlights this. Now, Nehru is gone. What can we do to anybody who was responsible? All the Krishna Menon is gone. Everybody is gone. So they can easily do it, but they don't. Same thing with Subhash Chandra Bose. I don't know who's stopping the remaining files from being made public.
Amish, you are muted.
Just one comment, Dr. Swamy. I was just looking at some chats being posted here. From an American government support perspective, right back in 1962, Galbraith fought tooth and nail with Kennedy to make sure that the McMahon line is held. Because the other time when they invaded, they said the US was dragging its feet of saying that whether should we recognize the old line or the new line and all those things. So Galbraith went there and put his foot down and says, none of this nonsense. We have to The State Department was dragging its feet. He just didn't have any. He just said none of this nonsense. He just went right to Kennedy, like literally put a gun to his head and said, say, this is what it is. So Kennedy declared that America stands by the original line, not by any new line. I think even recently Pompeo said none of this nonsense. We stand by India with whatever established lines. I sincerely doubt that is going to be challenged by the new administration. I'm very doubtful that Biden would stick by that anymore. And this is just purely my speculation at this point in time. But that is going to be a challenge for India. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Why do you bother?
No, but we always seem to bother, right? I mean, India always seems to bother about things.
That disease, we must get out of that disease. What the Americans will think, when the British will think. It's a small island. It's big enough to be an aircraft carrier for the Americans. An unsinkable aircraft carrier. You must understand, we have 1.3 billion people. And what they will say, no. Yes, by the way, but the Chinese themselves say that this is the original line. Because they have said it for Myanmar in a written,
right.
Even in their communication. When Chou Enlai came here in 1959, he told Jawaharlal Nehru, we have decided to agree to the Mekong line for Burma. It was used to be called Burma those days, Burma, and we are ready to agree with you, but you make some concessions in Aksai Chin. And Nehru said, no, you can't. I'm not in a position to agree to this. So it's not that. It's already in the thing that no Indian government need to be apologetic about the McMahon line. You call it by some other name, because the Chinese don't say this is an imperialist line. Well, they have changed the name for Burma also. Some other name they have given. So it say that Atmanirbhar Seema or something like that. The Prime Minister happy also. So I don't think we should bother what the Americans are going to say. Americans will change their tune the day they find we single-handedly fought the Chinese and threw them out. You can't do it today. Say we're going to do it 2 years from now. But don't just sit there and whine away or go for talks. What is this talks all the time? Talk about what? Disengagement. I don't want a disengagement. You are sitting on my territory. Where's the question of disengagement? I want to engage you.
अरविंद जी, आपके पास और कुछ सवाल है?
डॉक्टर स्वामी, मैं एक और सवाल पूछना चाहता हूं। आपने शुरुआत में आज जिक्र किया था गलवान घाटी में जो हमारे बहादुर सैनिकों ने बहादुरी दिखाई, और आपने प्रश्न पूछा था कि क्यों सरकार उन बहादुर जवानों की जो शौर्य था, उस शौर्य का प्रचार क्यों नहीं कर रही है। अब 26 जनवरी परसों आ रही है, क्या हम उम्मीद करें कि सरकार उन शहीदों को और जो बहादुर जवान वहां पे थे उनको शौर्य चक्र, अशोक चक्र और परमवीर चक्र आदि से सम्मानित करेगी?
अब मैं क्या बोलूं भाई, मैं तो निर्णय करने में कोई मेरा भाग नहीं है, मेरा कोई अधिकार भी नहीं है बोलने के लिए। और मैं ये कहता हूं कि थोड़ा भी राष्ट्रभक्त है तो उन लोगों को जो परमवीर चक्र सबको मिलना चाहिए। अपने शस्त्रहीन ऊपर गए, पहाड़ पर चढ़े और इन लोगों ने 20 लोगों को मारा, इन्होंने 42 लोगों को खत्म किया। तो इससे बड़ा क्या हो सकता है त्याग? उसको भूल जाना, सबके लिए भूल जाते तो अलग बात होती, परंतु वहां सीआरपी बस में बैठी है, उड़ जाती है। उनको तो कोई अपने हाथ में, जीवन तो अपने हाथ में नहीं थी। यहाँ तो उनको पता था कि हम जा रहे हैं, हम हो सकता वापस नहीं आएंगे, फिर भी वो गए वीरता के साथ। इनके लिए तो डबल करना चाहिए। तो मैं कहता हूं कि क्या रिपब्लिक डे उनके परिवार को खड़ा करके सबको टेलीविजन में दिखाना चाहिए। ये वीर लोग हैं, वीर परिवार के लोग हैं। तो इसीलिए मैंने कहा, ये तो इससे हौसला बढ़ती है, एक धैर्य बढ़ती है।
Dr. Swamy, sadly, the bravery of the soldiers that have shown impeccable, resolve in fighting back with limited, as you said, not being allowed to use guns, which is I don't know where that kind of a stupidity can happen. When you're attacked, you can't use guns. What, you're going to clap your hands or ring bells? I mean, this nonsense should stop. And I think they're stymied by the Babu sitting in Delhi. I think the defense ministry Babu should be shifted to border in Ladakh, Dr. Swamy, and let them operate there.
I blame the Babus. You're political. When I was minister, we got Arvind was there in the ministry. Did they anything that I allowed the Babus to do? Yeah. I said it has to be done. Full stop.
Yeah.
I listened to them and their arguments. Once I remember when I was giving Parazaline permission to Nasli Wadia's company to import from abroad because they were buying from Ambani's and he was not getting along well. So the Ambanis would have a strike in their factory and this poor chap, his production schedule would be all destroyed. So Montague Singh Ahluwalia was my secretary, commerce secretary. And I asked him, he said, no, we shouldn't do this. We have got a foreign exchange problem. How can we allow foreign imports and so on? So I said, you write me a note. He wrote me a note. I said, all wonderful arguments. I fully agree. But when these two are fighting, one is denying the other the supply. Therefore, as long as these two don't become friends, he will have the right to import. Because I can't allow his production schedules to be shut down. And that's how you did it.
You put paraxylene in the OGL.
Yeah, that's right, OGL. These same officers, the only person, they're very rare that they give a minister a send-off. And they held a party and felicitated me and said, never we had a minister who would say, write what you want, I will overrule you if I don't like you, if I don't like what you say. That's the way to do it. Why blame the Babus? I don't blame them. Of course, I can make fun of them because they have been brought up as boneless. But at the same time, I will say it's the minister who's responsible.
Yeah, like Supreme Court observed CBI is a caged parrot. I guess we have caged tigers and lions too, Dr. Swamy.
We are circus lions, not caged.
Dr. Swamy, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do you think Modi doesn't have the courage to confront China either by using strong words or showing toughness on the border? Because every viewer is basically interested in knowing this, why Modi doesn't show his 56 inches chest to China.
He did show it in 2014. He told Xi Jinping, and in fact, in the press conference itself, he said, this won't do. And Xi Jinping went back and withdrew those troops. Then somewhere along the way, things have changed. So you can ask me, what were those things along the way that changed him? You know that when Modi said, "Koi aaya bhi nahi, koi gaya bhi nahi," the Chinese press was full of it. That Modi has finished off all the hardliners who want to go to war, and brought sense into Indian, debates. So, why would you do that? I don't know. Why don't you ask these bhaktas who are doing fake ID tweets to give an explanation?
Dr. Swamy, another follow-up question on this. Some of these occupations across the LAC,
yes,
perhaps was during UPA time. Why does Modi even expose these things done under UPA?
Because he will have then a question that when did you know about it? And why did you keep quiet so long? Yeah, I'm telling you, 90% of what the Chinese have taken of our territory, including this Arunachal, you can't build a colony overnight, and especially in that terrain. So that most of it, especially in Depsang, it was during the UPA period from 2006 to 2013. Question is, if today you say the UPA did it, then they can ask you, for 6 years, what were you doing? Did you not know before? How can I say I didn't know before? The Prime Minister cannot say that in my frontier areas, which enemy is coming and putting his tents up and starting a family and all that, nobody will believe it. So I think he is in a difficulty of that. It's called catch-22. He's in that kind of situation. He'll be damned if he does, and he'll be damned if he doesn't.
But one thing for sure, Dr. Swamy, tonight the Bhakt Brigade will be like hammer and tongs. So we just sit back and have the fun. They're just going to go nuts.
Yeah, I enjoy most of it because it shows the frustration.
They're going to go. I've given them a new name, Dr. Swamy. I'm calling them the Hirentrot League.
Yeah.
Like IPL, HTL.
We are giving them a lot of work.
Yeah, man. Our chaps are,
No, after all, Arvindji, we are, in VHS, we help everybody, no? So they also have to make their 2-bit money today, no? So let them, we are helping them to make some money.
Yeah. Because they won't get employment anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Arvind, over to Arvind for it.
I've been through this during the communist period when, when I came back to India from Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
I said socialism will not work, and you need market economy. And I said Soviet Union, is a complete mess, and all the statistics coming out of Soviet Union is all bogus. And about China also, I wrote a book. My first book was on that one. Luckily for me, that Deng Xiaoping succeeded Mao Zedong, and he supported my work. And that helped him to get into the World Bank and get a loan very fast, because his per capita income was not $1,000, as Amartya Sen said, but $250, which was about the same level as India then. So I'm saying that time I was called an American agent, I was called a fraud, and I was this, and cooked up all my, God knows what all said. But just like water of a duck's back, I love somebody abusing me. So
they just rinse and repeat, Dr. Swamy. All these guys, basically all the or the troll brigade are nothing but socialists, right?
They're
getting paid by somebody.
I think that Rahul Gandhi is a dope, but these guys are 10 times worse than Rajiv Gandhi as far as IQ is concerned.
I mean, Rahul Gandhi.
Yeah, Rahul Gandhi. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Yeah,
thank you, Dr. Swamy. Thank you very much. The issue of our borders concerning India's security raises many questions. You have tried to answer. You try to provide answers to many of the questions, but of course, their questions remains, and a government is to be government is the answerable, and the government has to answer many issues which have been raised in today's program. Thank you very much for putting these issues on the table. Thank especially to Ramesh Swamy for bringing this new technology today by showing the maps and then identifying the specific areas. And we are technologically improving in every show. And thanks to Ramesh Swamy for that. My co-host Jagdish Shetty and the team, technical team behind this show, led by Ashish Shetty, Gadgi Rakesh, Ishwar Iyer, Swaminathan, Tejas, and Vishal Mehta. Thank you very much. And viewers, we will be meeting again next Saturday with the Legal Gyan Ganga, Nyay Gyan Ganga, Legal Words of Wisdom. And on Saturday, the last Sunday of the January month, which is closer to the budget. 1st February, we are going to have the budget. And 31st January, we'll have a discussion. If Dr. Swamy is ready, we may have some precursor to the budget or some economic issues which are challenges before the finance minister. Thanks, viewers, very much. And we'll meet on Sunday. And before that, we'll meet on Saturday in Legal Words of Wisdom. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Thank you.